everybody, it's Miss Betsy again. I am here in a different spot today doing a lesson on the butterfly life cycle. I have so many cool things to show you. In the background, you'll see my life cycle of a butterfly poster. And let's go ahead and talk about the different stages in a butterfly's life cycle. The very first thing that happens is a butterfly, and we're going to talk about the monarch today. This black and orange butterfly is called a monarch. It's my favorite. They come around in the springtime right now when things are warming up, and they look around for a plant called a milkweed. And I actually happen to have a milkweed right here we'll talk about in a minute. So they look for a milkweed. The butterfly lands on a milkweed leaf, and usually up underneath the leaf they lay eggs. Now in this picture, these eggs look kind of big, but let me tell you friends, they are teeny tiny, like a speck of sand. They're hard to see, but they're there and you can see them, and they're white like this. The next thing that happens is they hatch. When they are ready to hatch, a teeny tiny little caterpillar comes out. This is called a larva, and he is so teeny tiny. He is like not even the size of a little piece of rice. Teeny tiny. And then what does he start to do, friends? Just like in the book, The Hungry Caterpillar, what does he start to do? He starts to eat and eat and eat. And what is he eating? Is he eating watermelon and cakes and ice cream? No, he's eating the milkweed leaves. He eats and eats and eats and eats. He gets bigger. And when he gets super duper full and he's all done eating and he's ready to grow, out of his skin, his exoskeleton, he forms what's called a pupa. It's also called a chrysalis, and Miss Betsy usually calls it a chrysalis. And the the monarch butterflies form the most beautiful chrysalis in all of nature. Theirs are formed with a layer of dots that look like real gold that shimmer. Once it forms his chrysalis, which by the way, once it's full as a caterpillar, it finds the highest point it can usually to build its chrysalis. Lots of times it'll even leave the milkweed plant and it will go to a tree or a nearby bush that's higher to form its chrysalis. And it finds a nice, safe spot. It stays in its chrysalis. It's hard to say how long because it depends on lots of factors. It depends on the weather, mostly the weather and the sun and the temperature. Usually it's a couple weeks, a week to 2 weeks. And then inside the chrysalis, guess what's forming? You guessed it, a butterfly. A butterfly is going through metamorphosis inside the chrysalis. And at the very end of the metamorphosis, when you look at the green chrysalis, it starts to look black. And do you know why, friends? Do you have a guess? Anybody have a guess? I didn't know. Until one day I had a pupa, a chrysalis, and it was black and I thought it was dying. So I took a picture of it, and what I realized is that it was the butterfly wings inside that I was seeing. It comes out of the chrysalis. When it comes out, its wings are wet and damp, and they kind of hang upside down, the butterfly does, and lets his wings dry. Then he starts to flap his wings and let them get lots of air and blood flow. And then when he's ready, he's a beautiful butterfly, and he will fly off to find friends to fly with and find another milkweed plant to start laying his eggs. It's such an amazing thing in nature, friends. If you know Miss Betsy at all, you know that I'm a little bit obsessed with the butterfly life cycle and that I love it. And every year I get different milkweed plants, and this one right here. And I put it outside for the butterflies to lay their eggs. Once I see that there are some eggs or some baby caterpillars, I take my plant and I put it inside of a cage. here is its cage. And that way I can zip it up and keep it on my porch where it's safe from the predators that like to sometimes eat the caterpillars. So I put it inside, I make sure it gets lots of sun, and I make sure that the caterpillars have plenty of leaves to eat. Often I have to put in 4 or 5 plants for my caterpillars because they eat so much and they eat up all the leaves. I have a baby caterpillar on this one, but he's super, super tiny. Let me see if I can find him. I don't even know if you guys are going to be able to see him because he's so teeny tiny. But there he is, right there. See, he's not even as big as my fingernail. Yeah, it gets a little fuzzy when I get close. But that is a baby caterpillar that started to eat. And my milkweed plant also has some eggs that I was going to try to show you what one looked like, so you can see how very teeny tiny they are. Now I have to find one. Sorry, friends. I had a few on here that I saw earlier. You know what? I'll look for them in a minute so that we can move on to our book. I'm going to read you a book by James Dean, of course. The author James Dean, what kind of books does he write? Who is in all of James Dean's books that we love so very much? Our beloved Pete the cat. You are correct. Pete the cat has a book about a cool caterpillar that I'm going to read you. Okay, friends, I'm sorry I can't find my eggs right now. But what I'm going to do next week when I come on for my lesson, I'm going to show you what has happened to my baby caterpillar. And the egg that I can't find will be hatched into another caterpillar. And I can't wait to show you the progress. Before I read to, I wanted to show you. Oh no, look what I just found, friends. My baby caterpillar, he fell off my plant when I had it. So here he is. Can you see him? He's so tiny. I just realized he fell off my plant when I was moving it around. Let me get him back on here, friends, so he can start eating. There we go. Okay, so I have these really cool things. If we were in the classroom, we could play with them. But I brought them home so you could see them. And this is kind of what the eggs look like, real teeny, and then the baby caterpillars come out. And what do they start doing, friends? They start eating the leaves. So if you have a milkweed plant outside and you see some holes like this, chances are, if you flip it around, you'll see some baby caterpillars. Then they eat and they eat and they eat and they grow and they grow and they grow and they become a big, fat, juicy caterpillar. Big and fat, because all they do all day long is eat. Once they're full, like I said, they go and find the top, the highest point, and they form a chrysalis or a pupa. And that, my friends, is what their beautiful gold dots look like. And then, of course, when they are ready to emerge, they become the beautiful monarch butterfly. Okay, Pete the Cat and the Cool Caterpillar by James Dean. Pete is on a bug safari. He and his friends are looking for bugs. How many bugs can they find? Callie spots a tiny black ant. It's building an anthill, she says. Groovy, says Pete. Ants are pretty fascinating, friends. If you can watch them without touching them, they're amazing creatures. Gus finds a round red ladybug in the mint patch. It has 9 spots, says Gus. Nice, says Pete. Marty sees a big black spider. It caught a fly, he says. Neat, says Pete. Now in this picture, which one is the insect? The spider or the fly? You're right, it's the fly. Pete finds a green caterpillar in the flower pot. I will bring it home to show Mom and Dad, he says. Look how cute that caterpillar is. Mom helps Pete build a home for the caterpillar. They use a big jar. Dad puts in lots of little holes in the lid for air. Pete puts the caterpillar in the jar. Pete puts some leaves in the jar for the caterpillar to eat. He adds a twig for it to crawl on. Good night, Pete, says Mom. Good night, Pete, says Dad. Good night, caterpillar, says Pete. When Pete wakes up, the caterpillar is gone. Where did it go? Did it run away? What do you guys think? Where did it go? Looked like a pretty big caterpillar. It's not gone, says Mom. It did not run away, says Dad. Look, they say. What happened, friends? It built a chrysalis. The caterpillar is inside there, says Mom. It's called a pupa. Will it stay in there forever, Pete asks. No, says Dad. The caterpillar is changing into something new. What will it become, Pete asks. It's a surprise, says Mom. We must wait and see. Pete waits. Callie comes to visit. Did it come out yet, she asks. Not yet, said Pete. What are they having to be? Patient. Waiting on a chrysalis or a butterfly to emerge takes a lot of patience. Pete waits some more. Gus comes to visit. Did it come out yet, he asks. Not yet, says Pete. Pete waits even longer. Marty comes to visit. Did it come out yet, he asks. Not yet, said Pete. Pete waits and waits and waits. Then one day, something finally happens. Look at the action line, friends. What does that tell us? Yep, it's shaking. The pupa starts to wiggle. Something is happening, says Pete. It wiggles some more. Everyone comes over to watch. The pupa cracks open. Something is coming out. What can it be? I bet you guys already know the answer to this. A head pokes out, then some legs, and then 2 colorful wings. Ah! The caterpillar changed into a beautiful butterfly. Wow, says Pete. The butterfly slowly moves its wings up and down. It's ready to fly. They take the jar to the park. Time to say goodbye, says Dad. Pete opens the lid of the jar. The butterfly flaps its wings and flutters out of the jar and lands on Pete's nose. That tickles, he says. Then the butterfly flies up into the sky. Bye-bye, butterfly, everyone says. Oh, it's so magical, friends. Let's find a new caterpillar, says Pete. Change is pretty cool. Can you spot the caterpillar? The end. Okay, friends, I hope you enjoyed the lesson on the metamorphosis of a butterfly. Look to our video next week to see what has happened to Miss Betsy's butterflies and eggs. And maybe even through this process, we'll get a butterfly. And if we do, the pigeons always name it. So if and when we get a butterfly, we will ask you to be thinking of a name for the butterfly. So be thinking. Bye, friends.